The first rays of dawn slipped through the thin curtains, painting the modest room in soft gold. Leela stirred, groaning as she tried to stretch, only to freeze mid-motion. Something was unusual. Her eyes, still heavy with sleep, widened in disbelief. Around her small, neatly made bed were 20 tiny wolf pups, their tiny bodies twitching, squeaking, and nuzzling her fingers and arms. Panic surged in her chest as she sat upright, tripping over a small paw. What is going on? She whispered, her voice barely audible over the chorus of tiny whines. The pups, fur ranging from silvery gray to midnight black, looked at her with eyes too knowing for creatures so young. Leela's mind raced. Who could have done this? She lived alone, in a quiet cabin on the edge of the forest. There was no one who could possibly. A soft, commanding voice echoed from the doorway, sending a chill down her spine. You are calm enough to endure this. Leela turned sharply. Standing there was a man whose presence seemed to fill the entire room, tall, broad-shouldered, with piercing amber eyes that seemed to look straight into her soul. His dark hair was slightly tousled, and a faint aura of power surrounded him. Who are you? Leela stammered, her hands instinctively shielding herself from the sudden threat of his gaze. I am Kale, Alpha King of this territory, he said smoothly, stepping closer. And these, he gestured to the pups, here the first step in determining who will be my Luna. Leela blinked. Your Luna, she asked cautiously. I'm not. Shh, Kale interrupted, crouching slightly, his voice softening. They are not just pups. They are part of the test. Only someone capable of compassion, courage, and patience can handle them. The words sent a shiver through Leela, but her heart ached at the sight of the tiny creatures. Each one whimpered, some curling up against her legs, seeking warmth. Leela could feel her resolve hardening. If this is a test, then I won't fail them. Part twine, the test begins. The next hours passed in a blur. Leela fed the pups from small bottles, cleaned after them, and tended to their cries, all under Kale's watchful, almost imperceptible gaze. He didn't interfere, only observing, analyzing every move she made. Some pups were stubborn, refusing to drink. Others whimpered for hours, refusing to be comforted. Leela learned patience quickly, soothing them, coaxing them, and never raising her voice. Her arms ached from carrying them, her feet were sore, and yet a strange joy blossomed in her chest. Kale's presence never wavered. Occasionally, he would step forward, offering guidance with a subtle nod or demonstrating how to handle a pup too anxious to eat. Every gesture was deliberate, every word measured. Leela felt herself drawn to him, though she did not understand why. By nightfall, the room had transformed into a chaotic nest of tiny fur balls, all of them finally asleep, curled around her. Leela lay back on the bed, exhausted but smiling softly. She didn't notice Kale approaching silently, his eyes filled with a mixture of approval and something else she couldn't quite place. You have done well? He murmured, his voice low, yet commanding. You have the heart of a Luna. You care for them not because you must, but because you choose to. Leela looked up, startled, cheeks flushing. I don't understand. Why me? Why this test? Kale's amber eyes softened, and for a moment he seemed less alpha, more human, vulnerable even. Because, Leela, the true Luna is not chosen for her strength or beauty. She is chosen for her heart. And you have passed the first trial. Part 3, the bond deepens. The night stretched on, but sleep was elusive. Leela lay amidst the 20 pups, feeling their tiny bodies rise and fall with each breath. Despite the chaos, a strange sense of peace settled over her. She had never imagined that caring for so many little lives could awaken a strength within her she didn't know she possessed. Kale remained near the doorway, leaning against the frame, watching quietly. There was an intensity in his gaze that made her pulse quicken. He didn't speak, he didn't need to. Every small movement of hers, every gentle touch on the pups was enough to satisfy his careful scrutiny. Finally, he stepped forward, each footstep deliberate. You have a gift, Leela, he said softly. A Luna's heart is rare. It is patient, brave, and selfless. You already carry the traits I seek. These pups, they are only the beginning. Leela's eyes met his, searching, questioning. The beginning of what? Kale moved closer, tilting his head, studying her face as if reading her very thoughts. The beginning of a bond, he said slowly, between an alpha and his Luna. And the pups, they are part of that bond. They are extensions of my pack, of my soul. To care for them is to care for me, and the one who can do so willingly is the one who can stand beside me as Luna. Leela's breath caught. She had heard legends of the Alpha and his Luna, a sacred connection that transcended fear and time. And now she was living it in a way she had never expected. Her heart pounded, a mix of fear and excitement. Suddenly, one of the pups, a tiny gray one with bright amber eyes, clumsily scrambled onto her chest and nuzzled her neck. Leela laughed softly, her hands stroking its fur. Cal's gaze softened at the sight, a rare, almost vulnerable expression passing over his face. "You make them feel safe," he murmured, voice low. "That is something few can do, and yet here you are, with 20 of them at once, and none of them cry from fear. You have made my pack feel loved." For the first time, Leela saw beyond the powerful, commanding Alpha to the man beneath. The one who had created this test, not just to find a Luna, but to measure her heart. And she realized she didn't want to fail. Kyle reached out slowly, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. The contact was electric, a warmth that spread from the point of touch through her entire body. "Rest now," he said softly. "Tomorrow, the real test begins. But tonight you have proven more than words ever could." Leela nodded, heart racing as Kale retreated to the shadows. Curling back against the pups, she felt an unfamiliar sense of belonging. Somehow she already knew that her life had changed forever. The Alpha's test had begun, and she had passed the first, most crucial step. As the night deepened, the cabin was filled with the quiet rhythm of breathing, human and wolf alike. Leela closed her eyes, feeling a strange but undeniable connection to the pups, to the Alpha, and to the destiny that was slowly unfolding before her. Part 4, the true test begins. The morning sun poured into the cabin, scattering warm light across the floor. Leela awoke to the sounds of tiny paws pattering across the wooden boards, the 20 pups playfully tumbling over one another. Their energy was boundless, and Leela couldn't help but laugh as she untangled them from the blanket and guided them to a small feeding area Kale had prepared. Kyle watched silently from the doorway, arms crossed, his amber eyes studying her every move. But this morning felt different. There was a tension in the air, a silent announcement that today would not be as gentle as yesterday. "You handled the first trial well," Kale said, finally stepping closer. "But the real test is not about care or patience. It is about courage, decision, and your willingness to put others before yourself, even when it means risking your own safety." Leela's stomach tightened. She had expected more pups, perhaps more challenges, but danger? She didn't know if she was ready. Kale's gaze softened ever so slightly. "Do not fear, Leela. I will not let you fail because of fear, but I will push you to see who you truly are." Before she could respond, a sudden growl echoed from outside the cabin. The pups froze, ears twitching, and Leela felt a cold prickle run down her spine. Kyle's stance shifted immediately, muscles coiling with tension. "Stay here," he commanded, though his eyes lingered on her as if testing her reaction. But Leela did not move. The pups whimpered slightly, sensing her hesitation, and something inside her snapped. "No," she said firmly. "I won't leave them." Kale raised an eyebrow, surprise flickering in his gaze. "You will face danger to protect them?" Leela's chest swelled. "Yes, that's what a Luna does." A low, menacing growl came again, this time closer. Leela followed Kale's lead instinctively, moving to place herself between the doorway and the unknown threat outside. The pups gathered near her, small but brave in their collective presence, as if lending her their courage. Kale finally stepped forward, his towering presence shielding her, yet his eyes never left hers. "Then the test truly begins," he murmured. From the forest, a shadow moved. A rogue wolf, larger than any pup, eyes glinting with malice. Leela's heart pounded, but she did not back down. Instead, she called softly to the pups, guiding them to safety while keeping her gaze on the intruder. Her voice was steady, calm, commanding, qualities Kale had been watching for all along. The rogue lunged, and Kyle reacted instantly, deflecting it with the strength of the Alpha. But it was Leela's courage that truly impressed him. She had not hidden, she had not frozen. She had faced the threat with heart, mind, and soul united, a Luna in the making. When the danger passed and the rogue retreated into the forest, Kale approached her, a faint smile tugging at his lips. You see, Leela's strength alone does not make a Luna. Compassion, courage, and the willingness to protect even the smallest of my pack, that is what defines you. Leela exhaled, adrenaline slowly leaving her body. The pups crowded around her, the nuzzling her legs and chest, their tiny bodies warm and trusting. She looked up at Kale, a newfound respect and something more flickering in her eyes. You were testing me, she whispered. Kale's amber eyes softened, a rare vulnerability breaking through his commanding facade. Yes, he said simply. And you have passed, but the greatest test is yet to come. Are you ready for it, Luna? Leela swallowed hard, her heart racing, yet she nodded. I am ready. Kale's lips curved into a small, approving smile. Good. Because from this moment on, nothing will be the same. Your destiny is tied to mine and the pact to our bond. And in that moment, surrounded by the chaos and warmth of the 20 pups, Leela felt it. Her place, her purpose, and the beginning of a connection that would change her life forever. Part Fivali Lessons of a Luna. The days that followed were nothing like Leela had ever imagined. The cabin, once quiet and simple, now buzzed with life, laughter, and the constant chatter of tiny paws. The 20 pups were growing quickly, and with each passing day, they became both her joy and her challenge. Kale had taken on a more instructive role. No longer was he merely observing. He was teaching. Every morning, he guided Leela through exercises in pack leadership, tracking, and communication with the wolves, both human and animal. Being a Luna is more than care and courage, Kale explained one morning as the pups played nearby. It is about understanding, about balance. You must feel the pulse of the pack, sense their needs, and act without hesitation. Your bond with me strengthens the bond of the entire pack. Leela listened intently, absorbing every word. She had never imagined that caring for wolves could be so complex, yet so profoundly rewarding. Every wag of a tail, every playful nip, every contented sigh of the pups made her feel alive in a way she never had before. One afternoon, as the golden light of dusk spilled through the windows, Kale called her outside. The forest was quiet, the only sound the rustling of leaves in the wind. Today, Kale said, his voice low and serious, we begin the spiritual connection. A Luna must not only care for the pack physically, but spiritually as well. The pups will help guide you. Leela's brow furrowed. The pups? Kale nodded. Watch them. Feel their energy. Let it flow through you. A Luna channels the strength of every soul in the pack. If you succeed, you will understand the true bond between Alpha and Luna. Leela closed her eyes, kneeling on the soft earth. The pups circled her, their tiny bodies pressing close, their warmth radiating like a heartbeat she could feel. She reached out, letting their energy flow into her, her heart open to the connection. Kale watched silently impressed. For the first time, he allowed himself to relax slightly, letting her find her rhythm. The bond she was forming was subtle but powerful, a thread that tied their hearts together in ways that words could not capture. Hours passed, and Leela could feel a change within her. The pup's playful energy became a calm current, guiding her thoughts, focusing her intentions. When she opened her eyes, the world seemed sharper, clearer, alive with possibility. She looked at Kale, and in that gaze, she felt a new depth of understanding, one that transcended words. You are ready? Kale said finally, stepping close. His presence was overwhelming yet comforting, like a storm held in gentle hands. You are more than I imagined, Leela. You are a true Luna. Leela's chest swelled, a mixture of pride, fear, and wonder coursing through her. I feel it, she whispered. The bond, it's real. Kyle's amber eyes softened. It is real, and it will only grow stronger. But being a Luna is not only about the bond, it is about protecting, guiding, and standing beside me in every challenge, no matter how great. Are you ready for that responsibility? Leela nodded, her hands brushing against the pups around her. Each tiny life, each heartbeat, each wag of a tail reminded her of the weight she now carried and the joy that came with it. I am ready, she said firmly. Cal's hand brushed hers lightly, a spark of connection igniting between them. Good, then your journey as Luna begins now, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the forest in shades of gold and crimson, Leela knew that life would never be the same. The Alpha King's test had only been the beginning, and the path before her was full of danger, love, and a bond that would shape the fate of the entire pack. Part 60, the first true challenge. The morning air was crisp and sharp, carrying the earthy scent of the forest. Leela stood at the edge of the clearing. The 20 pups gathered around her feet, their eyes bright with curiosity and energy. Kale was beside her, his presence steady and commanding, like a rock in the middle of a storm. Today, Kale said, his voice low and serious, you will face your first real challenge as Luna. This is not a test of patience or care. It is a test of courage, judgment, and the bond you share with the pack. Leela's heart pounded. She had cared for the pups, learned the ways of the pack, and forged a connection with Kale. But a true challenge, one that could involve danger. Her stomach nodded, but she straightened, looking up at him. I'm ready, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Kyle's amber eyes softened, but the edge of command remained. Good. Follow my lead, trust your instincts, and listen to the pack. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath. Suddenly, a rustling came from the dense trees, sharp and deliberate. Leela tensed, feeling the hairs on her neck rise. One of the pups growled, a low, protective sound that made the hair on her arms stand. Out of the shadows, a lone wolf appeared. Its fur was dark bristling, and its eyes glinted with hostility. This was no ordinary encounter. It was the alpha's orchestrated challenge designed to test her bravery and instinct. Kale moved in front of her immediately, but his eyes never left hers. Step forward, Luna. Show your strength. Leela inhaled sharply, then stepped forward, placing herself between Kale and the rogue. Her pulse thundered in her ears, but she focused on the pups, on the life she had nurtured and protected. Stay back, she commanded, her voice trembling slightly but firm. I will handle this. The wolf lunged suddenly, and instinct took over. Leela raised her arms, using her body and voice to assert control. The pups scattered, some barking, some circling protectively. Leela felt a surge of energy, a connection with every heartbeat around her. She sensed the wolf's intent, its aggression, and her own courage flared in response. Kyle watched silently, impressed by her command and composure. This was what he had been waiting for, the moment she proved herself not only through care, but through action, bravery, and instinct. The rogue wolf hesitated, then lunged again, and this time Leela moved with precision. She stepped aside, guided by intuition and the subtle cues of the pups, and redirected the wolf's charge away from Kale. The wolf, sensing the strength and unity of the pack around her, finally backed down, retreating into the forest with a low, defeated growl. Leela's knees shook, but she stood tall, breathing heavily. The pups rushed to her, nuzzling her legs, their trust and loyalty clear in their eyes. Kale stepped forward, placing a hand lightly on her shoulder. You have done well, he said, pride evident in his voice. You did not falter. You acted with courage, instinct, and care. You protected the pack and yourself. That is what a true Luna does. Leela exhaled, relief and exhilaration flooding through her. She looked at Kale, the man who had orchestrated the challenge, and saw not just an alpha, but a partner, a guide, and someone whose respect she had earned. Kale's amber eyes softened, a rare warmth flickering in them. You are learning quickly, Leela. Soon you will understand that being a Luna is more than a title. It is a responsibility, a bond, and a strength that shapes the entire pack. The pups barked and tumbled around her, their energy infectious. Leela laughed, a sound of triumph and joy. She realized in that moment that she was no longer just a caretaker. She was a protector, a leader, and a part of something far greater than herself. And as the sun climbed higher in the sky, illuminating the forest in golden light, Leela knew that this was only the beginning. The path ahead would be filled with challenges, danger, and moments that would test her heart, mind, and soul. But she was ready. With Kale at her side, the pups under her care, and her courage as her guide, Leela embraced her destiny as the Alpha King's Luna. Part 70, the threat beyond the forest. The days following the rogue wolf encounter brought a sense of calm, but Kale knew better than to let Leela become complacent. Being a Luna meant more than caring for pups or passing isolated tests. It meant protecting the pack at all costs, facing threats head on, and making choices that could determine the survival of everyone she loved. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the horizon, painting the forest in shades of blood, red and gold, Kyle summoned Leela to the edge of the woods. The pups clustered near her feet, sensing tension in the air, their tiny growls low and warning. There is danger approaching, Kale said gravely, his amber eyes scanning the tree line. A rival pack has been testing my territory. They will challenge me, and you. The true test of your strength as Luna begins tonight. Leela swallowed hard. Her chest tightened, but she squared her shoulders. I'm ready, she said, though a tremor ran through her voice. The pups looked up at her, trusting her completely, and that trust steeled her resolve. Kale nodded, placing a hand lightly on her back. Then stay close. Watch, learn, and act with both heart and instinct. As night fell, the forest grew eerily quiet. Shadows stretched long, and the faint rustle of leaves hinted at movement. A low growl echoed from the distance, followed by another. Then, from the darkness, figures emerged. Wolves from a rival pack, their eyes gleaming in the moonlight, their snarls threatening. Leela's heart pounded. Kale stepped forward, muscles coiled, exuding power and authority. But instead of letting him handle everything, Leela felt a pull within her, a connection to the pups, to the forest, and to Kale. She realized that courage wasn't just about strength. It was about action born from love and loyalty. Stay behind me, she called to the pups, guiding them to a small safe nook near a tree. But the smallest pup, the gray one with amber eyes that mirrored Kale's, scampered forward, its growl loud and defiant. Leela knelt quickly, holding out her hands. No, you stay safe. Trust me. The rival wolves approached, their teeth bared, testing their boundaries. Kale moved like lightning, positioning himself between the intruders, and the pups, his eyes never leaving Leela. And then she acted. She raised her voice, commanding authority she hadn't known she possessed. The connection she had forged with the pups surged through her, and the energy of the pack, both human and wolf, responded. She directed the pups to flank, distract, and herd the rival wolves away, all while Kale intercepted the most aggressive ones. It was a dance of instinct, courage, and connection. Every movement felt natural, every choice critical. Leela's heart raced, but she felt an unbreakable bond guiding her. The alpha's strength, the pup's trust, and her own emerging power. After what felt like hours, the rival pack retreated, snarling but defeated. The forest grew quiet once more, the danger passing, but Leela felt changed. She had not only faced the threat, but had acted as a true Luna, guiding, protecting, and commanding with heart and mind united. Kale stepped beside her, his expression unreadable at first, then softening. You have done more than survive tonight, he said quietly, his voice carrying both pride and something deeper, something intimate. You have proven that the bond we share is stronger than fear, stronger than any threat. Leela's chest heaved, adrenaline still coursing through her veins. She looked down at the pups, who were tumbling around her, oblivious to the danger that had passed. Then she looked up at Kale. Their eyes met, and in that silent exchange, she felt the first sparks of something deeper than respect or partnership. Kale's hand brushed hers lightly, lingering longer than necessary. You are no longer just my Luna in name, he murmured. You are my Luna in heart, in courage, and in bond. Together we are unstoppable. The night wrapped around them, the moon casting silver light across the forest. Leela realized with a mixture of awe and joy that she had stepped fully into her role, not just as caretaker, not just as observer, but as protector, leader, and partner. And she knew deep in her soul that nothing would ever be the same again. Part 8. The heart of the Luna. The morning after the forest confrontation, the cabin was filled with an unusual stillness. The pups, though playful as ever, seemed to sense a shift in their alpha and Luna's dynamic. Leela moved among them with ease, guiding and comforting, but there was a new confidence in her gestures. A quiet command born of experience and courage. Kyle watched her from the doorway, amber eyes soft but intense, as if memorizing every motion. For the first time, he allowed himself a small, unguarded smile. You are learning quickly, he murmured, stepping into the room. But now comes the test of your heart. Leela, the emotional challenge of being Luna. Leela paused, looking up at him. Hurt? She asked. I thought I already proved myself. Kale shook his head. Courage and care are important, but a Luna must also confront her emotions, her desires, and the bond she feels with the alpha. The pups taught you patience and protection. Now, it's time to face the feelings you've developed. For me, for the pack, and for the life you are embracing. Her cheeks warmed, and she looked down at the pups, who playfully nipped at her fingers, oblivious to the gravity of Kale's words. I don't know if I'm ready for that, she admitted softly. Kale stepped closer, his presence enveloping her. You are more ready than you think. The heart of a Luna is not about being fearless. It is about being vulnerable, honest, and willing to love fully, even when the path is uncertain. Leela swallowed hard. The words resonated deep within her, stirring feelings she had tried to ignore. She had felt it growing. The pull toward Kale, the connection that transcended words, the warmth that lingered even when he was not near. And now, he was acknowledging it. Slowly, she met his gaze. I care for the pack, and I care for you, she whispered. I never thought I could feel this way, but it's real. Cal's eyes softened, the intensity giving way to something tender. And I care for you, Leela, more than I have ever cared for anyone. You have proven your strength, your courage, and your heart. You are my Luna. Not because of a test, but because of who you are. The words hung in the air, powerful and unyielding. Leela felt her chest swell, tears of relief and joy threatening to fall. The bond she had felt with the pups, with Kale, with the pack, it all converged in that moment. She stepped closer, closing the distance between them. Kale reached out, cupping her cheek gently. The warmth of his hand sent a shiver through her, and she leaned into him instinctively. The world outside the cabin, the forest, the threats, the tests, faded into the background. All that mattered was this connection, this bond, this shared heartbeat between Alpha and Luna. The pups, sensing the unspoken shift, gathered around them, nuzzling their chosen Luna and their Alpha. Their tiny forms, full of energy and life, symbolized the unity of pack and heart, the bond that Leela had helped strengthen and protect. Kale lowered his forehead to hers, amber eyes shimmering with intensity. You are mine, Leela, and I am yours. Together, we are stronger than any threat, braver than any challenge, and bound by something that cannot be broken. Leela closed her eyes, resting her hands on his chest. The weight of the words, the reality of the bond, and the love she felt overwhelmed her. She knew in that moment that being a Luna was not just a title or a test. It was a destiny, a choice, and a connection that would define the rest of her life. And as the sun rose higher, casting light over the cabin and the forest beyond, Leela felt a profound sense of belonging. She was the Luna of the Alpha King, protector of the pack, and keeper of a heart strong enough to face any danger and brave enough to love fully. Part 9 died the ultimate test. The forest had been calm for weeks, but Kale knew that peace was fragile. A new threat loomed, one that would challenge not only Leela's courage, but also the bond she shared with him and the entire pack. It began at dusk. Leela was tending to the pups near the edge of the clearing when the ground beneath them trembled slightly. The pups froze, ears twitching, tails stiff. Leela's heart skipped a beat. She looked toward the trees, where shadows seemed to shift unnaturally, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Kale appeared beside her silently, amber eyes sharp and alert. Something is coming, he said. A rival Alpha has crossed into our territory. He will test us, and you, Leela. Her stomach tightened. She had faced rogue wolves before, but this was different. A full, grown Alpha, skilled, dangerous, and intent on claiming Kale's pack. Her hands instinctively brushed the pups closer to her, shielding them with her body. You must trust your instincts, Kale said, placing a hand lightly on her back. And you must trust me. The pack, the pups, and I, we are united. Nothing can break that bond if you hold fast. The sound of snapping branches announced the arrival of the rival Alpha and his followers. Dark shapes emerged from the trees, eyes glowing in the fading light. The pups whimpered, huddling close to Leela, but she held them firm, exuding calm and control. Kale stepped forward, his presence radiating authority. Leela, lead the pack, he commanded. Show them your strength. Leela swallowed, fear and determination battling within her. But when she looked at the pups, at the pack surrounding her, and at Kale, steady, unwavering, she knew she could not falter. Taking a deep breath, she stepped into the clearing, raising her voice. This is our territory. Leave now or face the consequences. The rival Alpha snarled, lunging forward, and the battle erupted. Kale moved like lightning, intercepting the strongest attacks, while Leela coordinated the pups and the younger pack members, using her voice and presence to guide them. She could feel the bond, the energy of the pack flowing through her, giving her strength, clarity, and courage. One rival wolf broke through the formation, heading straight for the pups. Leela's heart leapt. She didn't hesitate. Stepping forward, she placed herself between the danger and the little ones. Her voice rang out, commanding and fearless, and the pups reacted, forming a protective circle. Kale joined her instantly, his strength combined with hers creating an unstoppable force. Together, they moved as one, defending the pack, repelling the intruders, and proving the unity of Alpha and Luna. Finally, the rival Alpha, sensing the overwhelming strength and unbreakable bond, retreated with his pack, leaving the forest quiet once more. The pups barked triumphantly, circling Leela, their trust and admiration clear. Kale stepped beside her, his amber eyes softening as he looked down at her. "You did it," he said quietly. "You led the pack, protected the pups, and faced danger without fear. You are not just my Luna, you are the heart of this pack." Leela's chest heaved, adrenaline and relief mixing into a euphoric exhaustion. She knelt among the pups, their warmth and trust grounding her, and looked up at Kale. Their eyes met, and for the first time, words weren't necessary. The bond between them, forged through trials, danger, and care, spoke louder than any declaration. Kale reached down, pulling her into his arms. The pups surrounded them, forming a circle of life, loyalty, and love. Together, he murmured, resting his forehead against hers, "We are unbreakable." Leela closed her eyes, letting the moment wash over her. She had faced the ultimate test, and she had passed, not just for Kale, not just for the pack, but for herself. She was the Luna, the protector, the heart of a family stronger than any threat and braver than any fear. And as the moon rose high, casting silver light across the victorious clearing, Leela felt a profound truth. This was only the beginning of their journey, but together, nothing could ever tear them apart. Part 100A, the bond eternal. The forest was quiet now, the aftermath of battle leaving a serene hush over the trees. Leela knelt among the 20 pups, their tiny bodies wriggling happily around her, their eyes bright with trust and loyalty. For the first time, she allowed herself to breathe fully, to let the weight of everything they had faced settle. Kyle approached, his presence commanding yet gentle. His amber eyes locked onto hers, and in that moment, all the trials, all the tests, and all the danger faded into insignificance. It was just the two of them and the undeniable bond that had grown from trust, courage, and love. "You have surpassed every expectation, Leela," Cal murmured, his voice low, almost reverent. "You are no longer only my Luna, you are the heart and soul of this pack." Her chest swelled with pride, but it was more than pride. It was a deep, unshakable love. I couldn't have done it without you, without the pups, without the pack," she said softly. Her hands reached out, resting against his chest. "I am yours, Kale, as you are mine." Kale's eyes darkened with emotion. Slowly, deliberately, he took her hands in his, holding them over his heart. "We are bound," he said, his voice thick with feeling. "By blood, by bond, by destiny. You are my Luna, Leela, in every way that matters." The pups sensed the gravity of the moment. They gathered around, forming a circle that seemed to seal the connection between Alpha and Luna, a living testament to the bond of the pack. Leela knelt, letting their warmth and trust envelop her, and felt a surge of power and peace flow through her. She was not just protected. She was integral, vital, part of something greater than herself. Kale lowered his forehead to hers, the warmth of his breath mingling with hers. "I will never let anything harm you, Leela. You are my Luna, my partner, my heart," he whispered. Tears blurred her vision, a mixture of relief, joy, and love. She placed her hands on his cheeks, holding him close. "And I will stand by you, Kale, always, no matter what comes." A gentle breeze rustled the trees, carrying with it the scent of the forest and the faint warmth of the pup's presence. The clearing seemed to glow under the moonlight, as if the world itself acknowledged the union of Alpha and Luna, protector and protector, heart and heart. Kale wrapped his arms around her, holding her tightly, and for a long moment, nothing existed except the two of them and the pack that bound them together. The trials, the danger, the tests, they had forged something unbreakable, eternal. Finally, Kale spoke, his voice softer now, almost tender. "We'll begin the rest of our lives together tonight, Leela. As Luna, as my equal, and as the one I love." Leela rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. "Together," she whispered. And in the glow of the moon, surrounded by the pack and the 20 pups that had started it all, Leela realized the truth she had discovered through every test and every challenge. Love, courage, and loyalty were stronger than fear. and together, she and Kale could face anything the world dared to throw at them. The forest seemed to sigh in approval as Kale leaned down and kissed her gently, a kiss that sealed their bond, their love, and their shared destiny. Around them, the pups yipped and tumbled, the pack howled softly in the distance, and the night carried a promise the Alpha King and his Luna were united, unstoppable and eternal. Epilogue: A pack united. Months had passed since the night Leela had truly embraced her role as Luna. The forest around Kale's territory had grown peaceful, the rival threats either driven away or learning to respect the Alpha King's strength. Yet it was not just peace that had settled. It was harmony born from love, trust, and unity. The cabin, once a quiet refuge, now buzzed with life. The 20 pups had grown stronger, their playful antics filling every corner with laughter and joy. Leela moved among them with grace and ease, her confidence now absolute. She had learned every nuance of pack life, from leadership to protection, and had become a guiding presence not only for the pups, but for the entire pack. Kale watched her from the porch, his amber eyes softened with pride and love. The Alpha King, once a figure of authority and power alone, now shared a life filled with warmth and partnership. Leela was no longer just his Luna. She was his equal, his anchor, his heart. "You've done more than I could have imagined," Kale murmured, stepping beside her. "The pack, the pups, you've given them strength and love. You've given me peace." Leela leaned against him, her hand brushing over his chest where the bond of their hearts had been sealed. "And you've given me purpose," she said softly. "A family, a home, and a life I never thought I could have." The pups tumbled around them, nipping playfully at their heels and weaving between their legs. Leela laughed, scooping up the smallest gray one, the pup whose amber eyes mirrored Kale's. She pressed it to her chest, feeling the same warmth and love that had drawn her to this life. Kale rested a hand on her shoulder, his gaze sweeping over the scene before them, the thriving pups, the loyal pack, the forest bathed in golden sunlight. "This is just the beginning, Leela. Together, we will lead this pack, protect our home, and face whatever challenges come as one." She looked up at him, her heart full, eyes shining. "As one," she echoed, a promise and a vow. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying the sounds of the forest and the distant howls of the pack. It was a symphony of life, loyalty, and love, a life Leela and Kale had built together, forged through trials, strengthened by courage, and bound by hearts unbreakable. As they stood there, surrounded by the chaos and joy of the pups, Leela knew with certainty that she had found her place. She was the Luna of the Alpha King, protector of the pack, and keeper of a love that would endure through every season, every challenge, and every heartbeat of the forest. And with Kale by her side and the pack at their backs, she understood the truth that had guided every step of their journey together. They were unstoppable, unbreakable, and eternal. The forest whispered around them, carrying a single, undeniable message. Home is where the heart is, and their hearts were forever intertwined.